Good evening, everyone. I'm Neil Köksal. I'm delighted to welcome you all to Spring for Peace 2020. I'm sorry that we can't gather in person as we have in the past, but I am really glad we can connect this way. I host World Report weekday mornings, Mondays to Thursdays to be precise. Our small team is so honored that so many Canadians and people around the world let us into their homes and their earbuds every day. And we're also very grateful to be considered an essential service because we certainly care a lot about what we do, and we also believe information is power. My goal in every story we tell is to increase understanding. You know, my Twitter bio reads, inform, don't inflame. And I think if we all did that, we would be in a better place. And I know it can be really hard not to get angry or worry about everything we're experiencing right now. But if we focus on listening and learning from each other rather than judging each other, I think it'll be a little bit easier to get through. I think part of the reason I feel this way is rooted in my background. I moved around so much as a child. I was born in Turkey, then we moved to Canada when I was 4 years old, and we called a lot of places in this country home after that. I have and I continue to report on conflicts here and also around the world, and seeing the escalation of those conflicts, the divisions created between people who would otherwise coexist and cooperate is still difficult to process for me, because I think we all realize that it doesn't have to be this way. So I felt a really strong connection to the work Peace Builders is doing. The peace building circles in particular are a powerful de-escalation tool. Respect, responsibility, and honesty are the shared values there. And how it works is a facilitator brings a group of people who are at odds together, and through conversation, they de-escalate and even build collaborative relationships. It's powerful. I was lucky enough to be the MC at last year's Spring for Peace. I learned a lot about the circle-based restorative programs being used in schools and in the justice system. And the programs work because of what they're doing. Student suspensions are down 60 to 80%. The pioneering restorative justice court diversion program has diverted more than 1,000 children and young people from the courts before trial. Courts should be houses of justice. Schools should be sources of support, and young people should be allowed to thrive. Peace Builders helps create those environments. The fact that we are gathering virtually is just a first, by the way. I should mention, if MPs can do it, I figure we can too. It is just one small aspect of all the ways the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted our lives. But I really do want to take a moment to thank all of the frontline and healthcare workers risking their lives, working long days and nights to help everyone get through this crisis. The Peace Builders team, I know, has some great things on offer for you tonight, and I know Stephanie and Michael, hey guys, are going to talk to you about those momentarily. I want to remind you, all the money raised is going to go towards operational needs, advocacy, and the supports needed to limit the impact of COVID-19 on young people and their families. You know you're here, you know your help is always vital, but particularly right now. Thank you so much for including me in this wonderful night once again. In a moment, you're going to hear from Eva Marszewski herself, the founder of Peace Builders Canada, and she's going to tell you about one of her own personal experiences, an experience that planted the seed for Peace Builders. But first, to start the program tonight, it's my pleasure to welcome Her Honour, the Honourable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario.
Hello everyone, salut, bonjour. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught us a lot about the nature of our society, but many of the lessons have in fact already been known to the Peace Builders community. You recognize and cherish our common humanity. Since day one, nearly 20 years ago, Peace Builders has been ahead of the curve. A look at the year just gone by reveals impressive, tangible impacts. Dozens of young people diverted from the court system. A growing coalition of schools, professionals, and volunteers. Your success stories go beyond the individuals concerned to their families, communities, and ultimately to our province and country. And that's what social cohesion really looks like. Once our present crisis wanes, there's no going back. Peace Builders will be needed more than ever, both for the services it provides and for your role in actually envisioning what the new normal will be. And so I thank you all for your ongoing support of this path-breaking organization. Keep up the good work. I can only hope that the rest of us will have the courage to heed your wisdom as we seek to build a world that works for everyone. Most of all today, I wish you continued good health.
Welcome to our webcast tonight. I would like to tell you a story about my first experiences way back in the late 90s. I was searching for a better way to deal with relationship-based conflict, better than litigation or mediation, in a way that was healing and restorative rather than punitive. And so in the process of this search, I was invited to observe a sentencing circle of a youth who had already been convicted of arson. He had gone out on a boat while he was still high under some influence of drugs or alcohol, landed on a deserted island, found an old house that he proceeded to set fire to, and left the inhabitant of this house, an old man, homeless. And so he was convicted at trial of arson. I was invited to observe the sentencing circle of this young adolescent. Imagine in a high school gym in Haines Junction in the Yukon, the foothills of the mountains up there. There were 18 people sitting in a circle. The judge, as well as the young man, as well as the older man who was left homeless. They were using a sacred eagle feather to pass around the circle. And the judge basically said to them, if you all here tonight come up with a better plan, I will definitely consider it. Otherwise, I would normally sentence this young man to something between 6 and 8 years in jail. So the eagle feather passed around, and various people made various comments about what should happen and how things should go ahead. The young man continued to stay silent for many rounds of the circle, until finally at some point he held it and said, I actually am terribly sorry. I regret the harm that I've caused, and I wish I knew what I could do about it, but I really don't know what I can do about it. I'm very handy, but I don't have money for materials. I don't have a way to get to this island to do any building. I don't have the tools. He just held his hands up and passed the talking piece. The feather went around the circle once. And in that one round of the circle, different participants, community members, offered to lend him money, to lend him tools, to accompany him to the site. And within one round of the circle, there was a plan in place to rebuild this man's house. So, of course, the judge said, okay, your sentence is going to be rebuild this house. The textbooks will tell you that Judge Barry Stewart, the judge in that case, is the first judge who has ever used a circle for sentencing purposes after conviction at trial. What the textbooks won't tell you is that when Judge Stewart left the bench, there was one person left in jail. And that's actually Peace Builders' goals. Let's empty the jails of adolescents that don't belong in there, and let's get them back to school.
So often in schools, there's a dependency on punitive measures.
Kids are being arrested, being handcuffed in their school.
To think that jail is a solution is, I think, not to understand that environment.
And I say to myself, is zero tolerance really working?
It makes sense to invest in the young person at the front end, get to the root causes of their behavior, and actually develop a life plan that gets them on the right track.
Everybody that sits in the circle is an equal participant. We have an equal voice, and we get really honest.
It's worthy of support, and I think needs more investment in the future because it does such wonderful things, and it also resolves and saves so much potential problems down the road.
I'm going to come away from an evening like this and start spreading the word because I think it's an incredible organization.
10 years ago, I turned to Roy McMurtry for advice. He was generous with his time, and he was one of the first to support a new approach, namely the adaptation of Aboriginal circles to provide access to justice for youth in diverse urban high-need environments.
This is a very intriguing idea that justice can flow from these talking circles. And so, without further ado, it's my great honor to present a small check.
Particularly for young people, to be treated in an unfair manner, I think, puts an end to any hope of redemption and reintegration into the social fabric of society.
In many ways, Peace Builders goes to the very heart of what makes Canada so successful. A vision for youth to realize their full potential, a mission to build safe and peaceful communities, an organization based on the values of courage, empathy, forgiveness, and respect.
Thinking about the future of our kids who may not have all the supports they need is so important.
A really great cause.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Spring for Peace is a great night to get out. We also have youth from our programs that are going to be doing some presentations tonight as well.
With the help of the amazing people who work at Peace Builders, we can allow all youth to have a second chance and become the future stars we are capable of.
The work that they do is really important, so we remind ourselves about that every year.
Our business wanting to make the world more sustainable environmentally, but now it's also socially. This is an incredibly important thing that Eva is doing.
All of your money will go to support Peace Builders programming, and as you all know, that cause is very dear to our hearts.
We have many different ways to manage adult conflict without entering the criminal law, but only the criminal law to deal with normal adolescent conflicts. How is that possible?
Peace Builders gives us a chance to, achieve real justice.
Please welcome our guy, David Clayton Thomas.
Talking about your troubles, it's a crime sin. Ride a painted pony, let the spinning wheel spin. The system is working against them, and Lady Justice is blind.
Thank you, Eva. And thank you to Her Honor, the Honorable Elizabeth Dowdeswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, and to our MC, Neil Cooksall of CBC. Good evening to you all, and welcome to Peace Builders' annual Spring for Peace Gala. I'm honored to co-chair this year's Spring for Peace Gala with Stephanie DiGiuseppe. We are coming to you tonight from our respective living rooms. It's not quite the terrace overlooking the Toronto skyline from the Globe and Mail Centre, where we were scheduled to hold this year's event. We may not have that stunning view, but we have a wonderful program for this evening's event, and we even dressed up for the affair.
I'd like to take this opportunity to give a warm thank you also to our founder, Eva, for sharing Peace Builders' origin story with us tonight. I've had the pleasure of hearing the story a few times, but every time I hear it, I'm inspired by Eva's vision for a better justice system and a better future for the young people caught up in it. I have learned over the years that Eva is a person who doesn't just dream big, she makes big dreams come true. Resurrecting this year's Spring for Peace out of the ashes of a global pandemic is yet another example of her incredible commitment to peace builders and its good work. Thank you, Eva.
And thank you to you all for joining us tonight and for inviting us into your homes. We're aware now more than ever that we do live in Congress and in community with our fellow citizens, even if we are not together as much these days. This is a community that reaches well into the past. While we are all today tuning in from different locations across the province and the country, we want to acknowledge that our country, Canada, is the traditional homeland of many Indigenous people. We take this moment to honor the important history of the land that we call home today.
This year's event is a bit of a reversal from the traditional Spring for Peace format, where we host you. But a lot of things are different this year. The courts aren't physically accessible and the schools are closed, but that doesn't mean that the myriad of pressures and challenges faced by youth in our community just disappear. Quite the contrary, they are magnified and new stresses are added. Mike and I want to take this moment to thank all of you who are joining us this evening for continuing to support others, even when you are all yourselves facing a time of unprecedented hardship. Your continued commitment to our organization and the youth we serve through all of this is truly inspiring.
And in particular, we thank our sponsors. These are individuals and groups that have remained steadfast in their support of Peace Builders and its work, some of whom have risen to the challenge after the onset of the current crisis. In particular, we thank our presenting sponsor, Mattamy Homes. Their generosity and spirit of leadership at this time is inspiring, and through their financial support, it allows Peace Builders to continue its important work during and after the crisis.
As we watched the Peace Builders reflection video just a moment ago, what impressed me most was Peace Builders' track record of identifying and tackling challenging problems, be it adding restorative justice programming to our justice system, problems of over-incarceration, the school-to-prison pipeline, the need for alternative dispute resolution for youth conflict. I am confident that whatever 2020 throws our way, Peace Builders will continue to deliver its excellent programs and provide support where necessary through these challenging times.
But we can't do that without your support as well. Peace Builders runs a variety of vital programs that require financial backing. And Spring for Peace, our gala this evening, is the principal fundraising activity for the year. As in years past, we are hosting a fine wine auction and a silent auction, all this year on a digital platform, which makes bidding easy and in real time. All proceeds from Spring for Peace, including our auctions, go directly to Peace Builders, its current operational needs, and the future support necessary to lessen the impact of COVID-19 on our youth and their families. Visit springforpeaceauction.ca to place your bids online. Our auction opens shortly at 8 p.m. and closes at 10 p.m. tonight. So please bid early and bid often.
The next segment we're excited to share with you is a video called Circles. This video focuses on the significant impact Peace Builder circles have on the participants and on our community. We hope you enjoy it.
One of my first experiences with Peace Builders was going to one of their circles, where we would bring a bunch of these kids in, 8 or 10 of them. We seat them all in a circle, and we throw a basketball around. And if you catch the basketball, you have to tell everybody else something about yourself.
Sometimes when we sit down with a young person and we understand everything that's happened in their life that led to them facing those charges, there's a number of serious challenges that they face.
Some kids get the basketball and completely shut down.
I always say it's bad to warehouse poor people, and I really felt that's kind of what we were doing when I was growing up in Jane and Finch. And sometimes there are value systems and things that come from that kind of crabs in a bucket kind of mentality in communities like that, that really changes your outlook on life. And it sometimes makes you angrier. It sometimes makes you deal with conflict in a way that's not really beneficial to anybody.
They don't want to talk to anybody about anything. Everything is inward. All of their rage, all of their hurt.
When we sit down and we talk to them, and we're bringing them out of the context of their community, out of the context where they have to put on a hard face and the tough exterior, we actually get to know them for them.
After a couple of times, and they see other kids opening up, they start to open up.
We get to know their vulnerabilities, what their ambitions are, what their goals are, what their hopes are.
What I like about it is that they use the young people to kind of teach the young people.
Learning conflict resolution starts at a young age. And if you can help kids when they're in grades 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever, that would certainly help pave the way to a better future for everybody.
When you can learn to deal with conflict, when you can learn that maybe violence isn't always the answer, when you can learn alternatives, change your outlook on life, I just feel there's a better chance that you're going to be successful.
It's an amazing process to see.
The more we can innovate and the more we can divert people out of the potential of being incarcerated, the more humane but also more productive it will be for the community on every level possible.
As you can see, Peace Builders Restorative Youth Circles program plays a central role in inviting our young people to develop a path forward to move towards a positive future. These programs are grounded in important social science research, evolving conflict resolution methods, and engaged youth. Indeed, all of the programs at Peace Builders rely on various stakeholders to invest in our youth at risk. And all of this requires great organizational leadership. Peace Builders is blessed with these kinds of leaders. I invite staff to introduce the newest of those leaders, the Executive Director of Peace Builders.
Thank you, Mike. I am very pleased to introduce Marlon Marraro. Marlon joined Peace Builders this year as our new Executive Director. While Eva's departure certainly left some big shoes to fill, Marlon is uniquely up to the challenge. He is a social systems architect. This means that he has a vision for a fairer, safer, and more equitable community, and he is committed to carefully designing programming that tackles complex social issues to make our world a better place. And he does all of this with a genuine commitment to diversity and inclusion, core Peace Builders values. Marlon brings with him over 25 years of experience in the nonprofit sector and municipal government. He is truly the leader we need to guide Peace Builders through these challenging times and into the next decade.
And in the few short months that Stephanie and I have worked with Marlon, he's inspired us. He has worked tirelessly to ensure that this event did not succumb to the crisis, and that all of Peace Builders programming remains robust and directed at serving our youth. Marlon has embodied that adage that where there's a problem, there's a chance to do your best. And Stephanie and I are honored to introduce Marlon Marraro.
Thank you, Mike and Steph. I'm truly excited to join the Peace Builders team. Growing up as an immigrant in Toronto's high-density urban neighborhoods, where hardship and enormous barriers were all around me, I watched charismatic, resourceful, kind, and larger-than-life individuals and families survive and compete while the environment gave them very little and very often actively worked against them. I made a decision at a young age that my life's work would be centered on attempting to level the playing field within urban geographies for those living at the margins. Together, with our team of volunteers, staff, board of directors, and supporters, we will cultivate and create solutions to complex justice and educational equities youth, children, and families experience while enabling change to address the root causes. Within the COVID-19 pandemic, this cause is even more important. It has worsened the social inequities that exist in Toronto and across the province of Ontario. Like most of Ontario's youth sector, Peace Builders is feeling the weight of this challenging and unprecedented time we're in. And I'd like to shout out to the young people, youth workers, staff, and volunteers of youth programs across Ontario and their loved ones. You are in our thoughts as we all navigate this situation together. What are we up against? Over 20% of suspensions and expulsions involve police services. 60% were given to students who had special education needs. And Black students were disproportionately higher in suspensions and expulsions. Racialized communities are overrepresented in the justice system. What is Peace Builders doing about this during the COVID-19 pandemic? Well, we work with teachers facilitating online curriculum. We run weekly online Real Talk to Real Solution youth sessions. We work in partnership with our community organizations in downtown Toronto, and we partner with the TDSB, supporting teachers and students to achieve academic success and reduce contact with police services. We work with partners to advocate for change to the new Toronto courthouse that will be housing adults and youth together in one building and we're looking to make changes to the Youth Criminal Justice Act. What does this mean? This means youth will be diverted from the court system, lower suspension rates for schools we are connected to, and increase academic achievement and support in crisis situations. What do we need from you today? What we need is your participation and your support by donating to peacebuilders.ca to make bids on some of Toronto's most amazing wine and auction items, and to also share the work of Peace Builders to your network, friends, and families. The pandemic may have us all doing the right thing by staying at home, but we can still accomplish a lot together tonight. Stay tuned for an animated video on an opportunity to learn more about the restorative justice practice, the foundational model of Peace Builders Canada. Thank you.
I don't know why I did it. To fit in, I guess. But when we got caught, it got very real, very fast. I'd never been arrested before, never been to jail, never been in court. I was so scared.
Andre's story isn't new. It's been repeated thousands of times in police stations and courtrooms across Canada. And every time it happens, young people and their families get trapped in a system that only has one answer. But there is an alternative.
When I got to the police station that night, he looked so scared. I just wanted to tell him that everything was going to be okay. But it wasn't, and we both knew it. I was hoping he would just get a warning, but the lawyer kept saying that wasn't likely to happen for us. Then he started talking about something called restorative justice. I didn't know what that was, but it sounded like the one thing we all needed at that moment. It sounded like hope.
Restorative justice works to repair relationships. It brings everyone involved in the conflict together to address the harm that was caused and find a solution that works for everyone. This can include the victim, the young offender, and the community. This approach is inspired by Indigenous worldviews and legal traditions that have been practiced for thousands of years and continue today. Restorative justice is about coming to a resolution, not just punishing people. The goal is to repair relationships and find a positive way forward for all parties.
I mentioned restorative justice as a possible alternative for Andre because I knew he was a good kid who made a bad decision. He didn't need punishment. He needed an opportunity to face up to what he did.
Many courts recognize that restorative justice is a better way of addressing youth conflict and crime. Although the Crown and police officially divert youth, anyone can recommend it, including lawyers and family. But restorative justice is not a get-out-of-jail-free card.
When my lawyer told me about restorative justice, I thought it sounded easy, but it wasn't. When you come face to face with the people you wronged in your community and hear how what you did hurt them, man, it's hard. Restorative justice gave me hope, gave me a second chance.
Welcome back, everyone. One thing I really love about the video we just watched is that it confronts a commonly held misconception, that restorative justice is easy. I've been working in criminal justice for almost a decade, and I can tell you that restorative justice is not easy. Believe it or not, I have had people say to me that they would rather go to jail than to engage with challenging programming that forces them to dig deep, a process that can involve some very painful subject matter. It is also incredibly difficult to interact with the victim of an offense and to really try to understand the events from their point of view. Restorative justice is not easy, but it challenges a person to become a better version of him or herself. That's why it has such a high success rate compared to incarceration. Mike, why don't you tell us what we've got coming up next tonight?
Sure, Steph. We've got some entertainment planned for this evening as well. So please stay tuned for a performance by Dwayne Forrest. Dwayne is a Toronto-based singer-songwriter with a unique blend of jazz, reggae, and soul. And Dwayne has a special performance for us later tonight. And speaking of music, you know him as a Grammy Award-winning Canadian musician and lead vocalist of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, We also know him as one of Peace Builder's strongest supporters. Tonight, with his performance of the system, we present David Clayton Thomas.
If you came here looking for justice, just us is all you'll find. Welcome to the system where the wheels of justice grind. The system is relentless. The cycle never ends. It's the same kids getting arrested over and over again. Oh, the system of justice is broken. It's way beyond repair. For kids caught up in the system, you know, justice just ain't fair. The system is working against them, and Lady Justice is blind. Lock 'em up and forget 'em, out of sight, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. Well, you paid up your dues and then some, and you finally walk out of the pen. But don't you dare spit on the sidewalk, or they'll send you right back again. You can't get a job with your record, don't have a roof over your head. You're just one step ahead of trouble, no matter how careful you tread. Oh, the system of justice is broken. It's way beyond repair. For kids caught up in the system, justice just ain't fair. The system is working against them, and Lady Justice is blind. Lock 'em up and forget 'em, out of sight, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind.
I'd like to thank you all again for making us a part of your evening. We so wish we could be with you in person, drinking, talking, laughing, dancing, enjoying all of the pleasures that Spring for Peace brings us each year. But we are also so glad that this event can continue to bring us together even now. We hope that many of you are joining friends before and after the program for Zoom parties so that you can enjoy a virtual version of Spring for Peace.
And this event would not have been possible without the army of volunteers who've been hard at work for many months, and particularly as the pandemic has required us to get creative with Spring for Peace. And so we thank the Spring for Peace Committee, who've been tireless in their efforts. In particular, we need to thank Asad Siddiqui of Peace Builders, Ruby Sohi of Royal Blue Events, and all the folks at Prisma Light. In particular, I have to thank my co-chair, Stephanie G. Giuseppe, without whom none of this would have been very fun at all.
A big thank you to Mike for all your hard work, and likewise. We hope, of course, that all of you will keep the party going tonight, not just on Zoom, but on Givergy as well. We are so excited about the auction items our amazing committee, led by Fiona McNestry, have put together this year. They have done an incredible job catering items to the new normal to bring you some incredible and unique items. Other lots, like the David Clayton Thomas dinner and the boat cruise, are once-in-a-lifetime opportunities and really something to look forward to when social distancing has relaxed and we can enjoy special times together again. A reminder that bidding closes tonight at 10 p.m. So the next 2 hours should be pretty exciting on Givergy. Don't forget to tune in often to check on your items. The website, just to recap, is springforpeaceauction.ca. And if you have questions, please email us at springforpeace@peacebuilders.ca.
And so we close our evening with a special performance by a son of Toronto, singer-songwriter Dwayne Forrest. Dwayne has a number of albums, all of which you should check out, but he blends his unique sound and storytelling to play us out and remind us that better times are ahead.
Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're safe and sound at home. My name is Dwayne Forrest. I'm a singer and songwriter from Toronto, Ontario, and I want to thank Marlon Morano for connecting me with the Peace Builders team. I'm a part of the Spring for Peace 2020 online event. This is my first online event, so I'm pretty excited. I'm really happy about the work that you guys are doing. Restorative justice work in the city of Toronto is so important, and I'm a big fan of it. Thank you for doing what you do. I run a charity. It's called Genesis Community of the Arts, and we actually teach visual arts, music, and dance to underprivileged young people in Guatemala and Honduras. So I'm really happy that we can tie these things together here. I'm going to do a song called Cherry Blossoms, partly because the cherry blossoms haven't actually, I don't think they've started yet, and I missed them, but also because the song's about how love can come and go and good times can come and go, but when it comes, it's so good. I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, I hope you're staying warm and healthy and safe.
Wish I was in this park alone. Time is too short, I know you know. History seems to be eternal, like cherry blossoms above our heads. High above us, cherry blossoms high above us. Love has a way of being cool, teaching me things. Some aren't true, some are so true. How I wish we were sitting back in school with cherry blossoms above our heads. High above us, cherry blossoms high above us. Cherry blossoms high above us. Cherry blossoms high above us. Is our love lost in moments while time just keeps on going, or does it keep on growing? Cherry blossoms above our heads. How I wish we were still good friends, or something like acquaintances. Ooh, couple of kids watching the sunset with cherry blossoms above our heads. High above us, cherry blossoms high above us. Cherry blossoms high above us. Cherry blossoms high above us.
Thank you. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you once again for having me a part of Spring for Peace 2020. Wishing you the best, and hopefully we'll all get through this together.
There's a buzz here. It's unbelievable. There's a lot of people from different areas of the community. It's nice to see such a diverse crowd.
I love the feeling. I love the vibe. We love the auction. I think it's a great format, and I think it's obviously attracted a lot of attention.
It's a great time to see a lot of my friends, and so 2 good things in one for me.
Wonderful evening and supporting a great cause, so I would definitely recommend this.
What could be more worthy than youth justice?
And I would say ditto, and I'm here for the wine.
If you're passionate about your work and passionate about justice, then you have to be passionate about peace builders.
People talk about millennials and talk about young people as this sort of problem to be solved, and I actually see them as the creators of solutions to the problems we've created if we just kind of unleash their potential to do so.
This group is filled with all these kind of caring people that are looking for better outcomes for our marginalized young people. And if they have better outcomes, don't we all have better outcomes?